Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and sponsored by WCBE 90.5 FM. Read reviews and listen to shows on WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Screaming Wayne Miller.
This show always scares me, but when you're on, it's at least the sixth iteration of my fear. We're talking about Scream 6, and we're also talking about the horror genre, and we'll move in as we get toward our double take.
Yes.
Maybe about some of the tropes in horror films.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, but we need to look at Scream 6. And
Yes.
Did it scare you?
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. And of course, some of the jump thrills, but also the build up to some scenes, as they go through an open door that's kind of like, is Ghostface going to be there, right behind them and everything. But
Got to be the greatest Halloween costume ever. That face, that white face.
Well, two things about that, and you're absolutely right. And I went back and watched Scream, last year's Scream, which did not have, like the other ones, or this one, the Roman numeral there to designate which part of the series it's in.
Yeah.
It's still referred to as Scream 5, but the release title was just Scream, which is the same as the original one back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But the second thing, though, about the Halloween costume, and going back Sunday and watching it again, or watching Scream 5, I think they did a wise thing here, John, in placing the action in New York City.
Yes.
And particularly, everything that you read about New York City, you think, oh my God, well, you don't want to ride the subways, because you're going to be a crime victim. And here it must have been around Halloween time, a lot of people in costume, but a number of people in Ghostface costume. And as our intrepid quartet, and actually quintet, since they added Hayden Panettiere, the
what is it, the Core 4?
Yeah, the Core 4, which kind of reminds me
of
our little group when we traveled that were Zone 4.
Yeah, right, and we're a little bit scary.
Yeah, we are. And what's really kind of cool about the Core 4, that it's two sets of siblings.
Yes.
A young man, a young woman, twins.
Yep.
And the little sister, and I tell you, she is a little tiny thing compared to her big sister.
I'll tell you, both Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega are a terrific team.
They are. And John, I recommend for you to see Scream 5. Because it's got a little bit of the backstory, because the sisters had been estranged.
Yes.
And when the younger one is attacked, but fortunately not killed, the older one comes there. And the same thing, that she wants to protect her in New York City.
Yeah.
And so she's very, very protective of her little sister. And I tell you, Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, she's your kind of woman.
Oh, that, and with her little freckled nose and everything. And I haven't seen it, it's on Netflix, so it might be recommended to you. But she plays Wednesday Addams of the Addams Family.
Oh, that's right. So she's on the ascendant.
Oh my goodness.
You're bringing up the point that I really find valuable about this Scream, is that they have in place actors who really do well. It's not just some schlocky movie.
Yes.
When you look at those two, and then you have somebody like Dermot Mulroney.
Yes.
I find, and even Courtney Cox.
Courtney Cox did a good job.
Yeah, I like to think of Courtney Cox Botox.
Botox. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, but she has endured.
Yes, she has.
She's one of those legacy characters that they're no longer protected.
She's the only one that's been in all 6 Screams.
Right.
And her running buddy, Neve Campbell, from the other Screams.
Yes,
and of course, Neve was the big heroine, and particularly the first one, and then on after that. But she was asked, but they had a salary dispute. And I was reading an article that she was saying that she's given a lot to that this blockbuster series that has made tons of money, and she just feels like she deserves a little bit more pain.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And so it didn't work out. But in a way, I don't know if it might have muddied it up a little bit, because here we have, with the action taking place not in Woodsboro like the other ones, but in New York City.
Yeah.
And Courtney Cox with some young man living there.
Well, yeah, and we have the return of Billy Loomis, played by Skeet Ulrich.
Yes, who's the father? Because see, the Jenna Ortega and her sister are half siblings, and the older sibling's father is the serial killer, one of the two Ghostface in the very original.
I can't keep it straight.
Scream movie.
The other one, the legacy, I would think, is Hayden Panettiere.
Yeah, yes.
As Kirby Reed. I knew you recognized her right away.
Mm-hmm. And she wasn't in Scream 5. She was in what they consider the reboot, and we probably get more into this in Double Take, or whatever that show's called. Back Talk, no, Double Take.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're
the
good.
podcast, but about the kind of history behind that whole series, and its place in the horror genres itself. But John, I want to say one thing. This movie is definitely a family affair. You brought up, particularly when you were talking about, when you were giving your Oscar picks, about the movies that had family as part of it, like the Oscar winner everywhere and everything.
Yeah.
But this is a family affair.
Yeah, you're right.
Because we've got kind of the, I don't know, Hamlet's daddy or uncle's ghost talking to his oldest daughter.
I know.
And then, I won't give it away, but it's a family affair as far as the villains of the
Sure.
series.
You mentioned New York City. There's an opinion that it loses strength by being in such a sprawling city, that you can't be afraid the way you were in Woodsboro. But I find you're right, and I'll tell you what proves you're right. Just take a look at that scene in the subway.
Exactly. That to me was the fantastic scene, as they're sitting there, and there's so many Halloween partygoers dressed as Ghostface.
Yeah.
And so it just adds something to it, but also as the lights flicker off in the subway car that they're riding in, and you always hear about the crime problem on the New York subways.
Yes. There are some who think, and it probably is true, that this is the bloodiest Scream ever.
Yeah.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. There's gore. They've always had, but it's funny because sometimes I don't really notice it or do comparisons with some movies, as far as the gore and blood factor.
Well, I'll tell you, they do it so carefully and so artfully that it's really not obnoxious. Mm-hmm. Even when a knife goes through the mouth.
Oh, yeah, it kind of bends it down so it's, cuts through under the chin. But
and it is. But I'll tell you, I think though I'm inured to it. I think I'm just not scared much anymore.
Yeah.
And when you and I go to it, we're not like adolescents, although we sometimes act like that. But we're not we're more interested in the art of what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
And its longevity and what its characteristics are. So I find myself really, even with the jump scares you mentioned initially, I just find myself not that afraid.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I know the genre well enough, or have had experienced it enough, that I'm now just fortified against it, and I'm looking now at a film that has lasted, a franchise that has lasted for 30 years.
Yeah.
How do they do it? That's what really interests me.
The one thing though I noticed too, and seeing a movie on the big screen in a theater is quite an experience, and this one was an experience because it wasn't nearly as big a crowd as I was expecting, but it was a crowd there in the theater that we were watching the movie.
Yeah, more than usual.
Yeah, and I think some diehard Scream fans who probably follow the franchise, because especially when the heroes, start giving the villains their comeuppance, that there's people cheering and clapping in the audience.
It is an audience suited to us.
Yes.
We like to howl and scream. All right, Wayne Miller, the
Yeah.
film is Scream. All right, Wayne Miller, the film is Scream 6.
Yes.
And we have much more to say on our Double Take podcast, and you have to go to the podcast experience on WCBE.org in order to catch us.
Yeah.
I can't believe you'd want to, but since we're talking horror, listening to us could be its own form of horror.
Yeah. Because we provide some scary moments. Yeah.
What's your advice about Scream 6?
I would recommend it. It's definitely an R-rated. It'd probably be too intense for the young ones, but I recommended it to my niece who loves horror films.
Yes.
She wrote back, texted me back and said she'll have to check all of them out because she only had seen the first two.
And you don't need to have seen them all to enjoy it.
No, you don't.